Tonight is another beautiful occasion when I get a chance to talk to one of my favorite people in the world. And so, my friend Lili, um, Lili has suffered her entire life with fibromyalgia, and she has a pretty painful hernia on her back. And and then, and I myself carry, tension in every muscle and tendon and joint of my body, and it's a kind of a low level, um, kind of a numb pain. And because I push it away and try to forget it's there instead of actually deal with it. So this is our uh, beginning into actually dealing with it. And so the title of this one, according to Lili, is Dissolving Pain. And in this case, I was going to say it's primarily physical pain, but the physical pain is from a mental source. The pain isn't really there if it weren't for a constant signal from your brain, your subconscious, your identity, that there's a lot of good reasons for it to be this way for you. And just acknowledging that your experience of your pain and suffering in life, you're really not in danger 24/7. You're really not having somebody torture you every moment of every day. This is an experience of you by yourself in your body. And it's stuff that really doesn't have an obvious physical cause. And so, just to propose a theory, let's just assume that somehow you believed, you either talked yourself into it, that you deserved to be punished with pain, or you allowed somebody else to talk you into it. Or let's look for a good reason for it, a really good reason, that you really wanted to come here and be an inspiration to the world. But in the way of the world, someone who has not suffered immensely for her entire life, who else would you like to hear about an end of suffering than from somebody who literally knew suffering as her life and then dissolved it? So the first thing that we have to do is we have to take a step back from it being our pain, your pain, my pain. The body's feeling it, and the consciousness is uncomfortable as a result of it. Your self-awareness, your sense of self, your ease, you're on hyper alert because something inside your own body seems to be attacking you. So that means there's a harmonic disruption in your body where something is opposing something else. And both aspects of yourself think that they're right. And may largely be so from their point of view, of course. But taken in the whole, there are no arguments. If both sides of a debate or a conflict, instead of having a single point of view, if they literally took in millions of points of view at the same time and gave their personal point of view no more weight than anybody else's, then everyone would be in harmony. And so we're not here to save the world, because we can't, if we're in the midst of suffering ourselves, which both of us are, then we're not here to save anybody, because we haven't saved ourselves yet, or we haven't allowed whatever it is that's could have, would have, and would have loved to have done it in the most beautiful way. The reason why we're still here the way that we are is because we said no. We couldn't say yes to the end of our suffering. We couldn't say yes to an opening of authenticity such that we honor ourselves. And by honor means you love yourself, you love others, but your first responsibility is to yourself. For your body to be healthy, for your body to be strong and flexible, for your body to be optimized for a magnificent life. Not limited by any physical, dysfunction. So, if you wouldn't mind, please, this is what I'm talking about is very subtle in order to feel it, and it's the opposite of what you do, because you're doing always, because you're dealing with it as best you can always. And so what we're doing is we're exploring a new path, a new way. We're giving a chance for something else to work when nothing that you've tried so far has. And so all I'm asking is, since you're giving it a chance, I want all of your attention on what I'm saying, and then you feeling how that resonates in your body, where that pathway of freedom is within your experience of yourself. And so without trying to fix things, if your intention is on trying to change things right now in the moment, you can't surrender. You have to be still. You have to be still, and you have to be still long enough so that everything starts to be free around you, because you're not pushing them and you're not pulling them and you're not even communicating to them. You are essentially inert. You're a non-factor in their reality. Yet at the same time, you're allowing them to be exactly who and what they are, and do exactly what they're doing, and still love them, where they still feel accepted on a level they've never been accepted and known and understood. So what's the point of this? The point of this is how do you make a quantumly beautiful shift into a celebration of how lovely life feels for you, your body. Instead of being in suffering, you open up to a sensual relationship with yourself, where when you touch yourself, it's not you trying to heal something that's making you uncomfortable. It's a touch of what a wonderful feeling it is just to be me with this body. It's this is a nice way to be here, this body, and I'm enjoying it starting now. So that's what I'd like to put in the middle of your stillness is a thought. Not a thought, but something that you notice. And that's that you're sensing that you actually are in the midst of an opening, an awakening. Just notice it. You're not starting from scratch. You're already highly conscious and highly aware. And and if you just take a look in this moment, of just right now, notice that all the barriers that seem to be, you know, impenetrable to where you just notice they're just shadows. You thought it was something else, but now it's one of a million different aspects of life that happen as you move through this world. So, unless there's a real and present danger, your awareness should always be out there so that nothing surprises you. But that doesn't mean that you're nervous or fearful or anything. That's just like an eagle. That eagle is sitting there and sees everything. So the beginning is the stillness. Being the sky where clouds come and go and birds come and go and planes come and go, but the sky doesn't do anything. It's not even the wind. But the sky holds it all, gives it all a place to play. And as a universal and eternal consciousness, which you are, which I am, which everyone is, it's just the choice to say, okay, I'm looking. Look to notice that in your noticing, you can feel it divinely if you put your focus on it and just let it happen. You can feel your body right now divinely, regardless of what's wrong with it, regardless of your suffering. You can divinely suffer. You can open and embrace that with love, with compassion, with the recognition of the divine source of it all that somehow ended up like this. But when you take a look at the divine behind it, that led up to a seeming horror of some kind, then all the significance of it drops away. And when you look again this second time, you can see their hearts open, and not just open, but radiating, and in a beautiful state of the universal consciousness awakening within their body, within their personality, within their ego, and seeing those quantum jumps, just as their movement in life as they open up to the infinite and the eternal. You are the infinite and eternal, but you have to recognize that within your body. That's all. Recognize that what you are is infinite and eternal. The consciousness that is enjoying this body. Has been around forever. And as it can't be a universal consciousness and not be the essence of unconditional love for everything. Plant, animal, mineral, or just simply a disembodied consciousness somewhere, whatever it is, doesn't matter. You adore it. You feel like that's your girl or that's your guy that started off as the universal and eternal creator and said to yourself, ooh, you know what? I'm going to go unconscious and I'm going to plug myself into a life and death world scenario and take a body and feel what it's like to be suffering and afraid and flipping really conscious. You know, to be just a being with a balance of beautiful attributes, and then all the reasons why all those attributes cause you to suffer. The ones that cause you to suffer the most, that go unchallenged, are the ones that you love. You know, if you if you love doing something and you're good at it and you're rewarded by that, it's a really beautiful thing. But if that prevents you from doing anything other than physically enjoying the life of being a human animal, you know, was that your purpose? Or was your purpose that impossible dream that happens so rare? You know, neither one of us are sure if there's anybody on earth in that state of consciousness at all. And we think the answer is no. But then when we get close to it ourselves, when we dip our little toe into the ocean of the sublime and the eternal, it requires absolute destruction of all the lies in you, and virtually everything that contributes to your sense of self. You know, your identity and your personality are all manufactured. You know, they're perversions of your truth. So much so that not even you really knows what your truth is. Because if you did, you'd be it. And it'd be natural. And so how do you know? Well, you can't know by reading a book. You can't know by watching a movie. You can't know by thinking or not thinking. How do you know? Well, we've dipped our toe in it. We know it exists. And we know that when we have those peak spiritual experiences, life on earth looks like the most ridiculous thing of all. But something that wouldn't even be a challenge for you. So your life would be about a combination of you in supreme enjoyment and love with your life and the experiences that you have. Or it's to say, you know, am I going to be one of those saviors or holy man or goddess embodiment that helps with everyone else that chooses the same thing to bring in the transformation of and the realization of the potential that consciousness had with humans. You know, it's time for us to say, it doesn't matter what the limitations are. It doesn't matter what the barriers are. The only thing that matters is what your experience of yourself is. Because your reality configures itself according to who and what you believe you are. Now, if you awaken to the point where if somebody looks closely, you're actually radiating light. You actually have a vision of holiness, moving in grace in a manner that's so profoundly true and authentic in terms of the realization of the human potential in every area, you know. You know, what is it for a body consciousness, Lili and David? What is it for us to truly open up and allow this to be our last breath as David? Is it okay if this is my last breath? You know, it's kind of difficult to say yes, and yet what do I do? Waste my time all day? I'm not in a experience of a mutual love of someone else and everyone else that I meet, such that it's just wow. Heaven is real. The divine celebration begun, and I get to see it. I get to choose how much I open up to it and allow it to remind me of what's real and what's true. Because that's all it is. It's just somewhere from a gentle reminder to a violently impolite instantaneous transformation, which if it's instantaneous, then what's really the way that you suffer the most? Being a complete lie that took a baby step into truth? Or something that's unfiltered by time? Not diminished by space? It's you. The only thing that appears to suppress you is your decision on what reality you're experiencing here. And then within that reality, what are you doing here? You know? What does the divine being want to accomplish through you, as you, because it is you, and yet this is the starting point of you're the before and the goddess has her intention on you. Now, here I'm talking to the ego and the personality. Both of them were created out of your experiences, okay? I'm not talking about the essence of the truth of you, but now I am. Because that's essentially all you have to do, is allow yourself to be destroyed. And by that self, what I mean is the story. It's just a story. Imagine that you watched a movie and you didn't like the ending. You wish it would have been the other way around. And the movie's over and you're sad about it. But somehow now that a movie affects you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life, you are experiencing whatever that disappointment is from that moment on, and you're never going to let it go. And that's what you're doing with all the shit that you're carrying around. So let's let some go. Let's let it, as you said, dissolve. So yeah, just be, just no doing. If you're doing it, it won't happen. Just be. Let every aspect of yourself, mentally and physically, have a vacation right now. Nobody has a job. You're off work, you're on vacation, and your vacation is to just take a breath. Because now that's all it takes. When you take a breath, now it's a breath of awakening, a breath of remembering, a breath of focus and presence and consciousness. So take a breath. feel what that breath does to you when you breathe it as that. A being here, by the way, the last flowers opened, and so we got a few more days. They may last until you come, but maybe not. You know, the roses are done for. But the top two, yeah, I think it'll be good till you're here. Because I don't know if I'm going to buy any more or not. Because I'm not that kind of guy, as you know. I'm not a nice boyfriend buying flowers and chocolates and whatever. Don't even go and hang out with the crazy people. You know, what's the matter with me? But plenty, I know. I'm not really asking you because I don't want to hear it. Except from when you are looking and experiencing me in a more divine way than I am myself. I want you looking through past your emotions, past your memories, opening to see everything that I've been in this life and being okay with it. Even saying, wow, I wonder, he's already made a nice step. It's going to be great to see him take a divine one. It's going to be great for me seeing you and feeling you in that flow of grace and truth that is so beautifully beginning to flow from you. So just notice that. The truth is already flowing, Enjoy it a little bit. Notice it. Relax in it. You have no resistance to truth flowing through you anymore. Just don't try to tell truth what it is. Then it becomes a lie. Okay, so now you feel how you can actually breathe now? Your chest isn't being squeezed like it's in a vice, and now, I can actually breathe now without suffering. That's not some physical thing that a doctor can fix unless it's a doctor of consciousness. The doctor doesn't ask who you are when he comes to see you. He already knows the fact that you're coming to see him, that you're just a complete fuck up. And that you're going to come in and pretend to be something that you're not. I want me to agree with it and treat you as that that's what's real about you instead of what I know to be real about you that you don't know. You don't have to negotiate with lower consciousness. All you have to do is always be you. If there's a part of you that's afraid of things like that and plans out strategies, well, that part of you is not choosing to say yes to the degree of presence that they should be here so that for themselves and their family and their friends and their enemies, that they can just be a pure delight to everybody that they touch. What what would you have to let go of for you to allow yourself to take a quantum step like that? What would you have to let go of? I mean, it's immense, I know. It feels like everything that there is about you. Yeah, you have to let it all go, especially all the good. Because nobody has a problem making a list of all the bad things that they're carrying that they'll let go of. They just don't know how. Please help. Even if you fixed every one of them, they'll be just as screwed up. Because now they're going to be trapped by things they'll never challenge. Their identity as the guy with the biggest boat, or the prettiest girlfriend, or the kids that beat everybody at everything, or just simply sitting here in a life of quiet or no, not so quiet desperation, wishing and praying and hoping that there's a way that life can be beautiful again. It's a sad story, I know, but flip. I guess I have to take responsibility for that being my story. I'm sad. Even though I'm a pretty nice sad. But all in all, I'm sad. And now, notice that just me looking at that until I admitted that and took responsibility for it, that opened up the back of my neck and now my ribs and going all the way down my spine to the sciatica. It's opening up my whole spinal column. Just simply acknowledging the truth to myself. So how do you heal yourself? Open to experiencing your truth. How's that? Pretty simple. Do it. How do you do it? Well, give it 100% of your attention, which means get in a quiet room where you're not going to be disturbed and turn off all your electronics and sit down and let go the story of your life. What you did that day, who you were when you were doing it, nothing. All you are now is that you're letting all the personality go, you're letting the story go, you're letting the ego go, and you're saying, it seems that in the moment of now, my consciousness is occupying this human body, and the circumstances are not ideal, and so I want a divine recalibration, because I don't believe that there's a universal, an eternal, divine purpose requiring this. I think this is just, the end of a story. And, I don't think it deserves a sequel. I didn't like it. I did not like my life. I didn't wake up in the morning happy to be me. And that's nuts, because I've studied consciousness and talked about it, for over 30 years. And I do sessions like this as often as I can, and I really would be loving to do it every day. Oh, why don't I? I'm going to be quiet for a minute because when I asked the question, a bunch of solidity kind of came in, and so I got my answers, and I'm going to look at the answer until I understand it, okay? So you do the same thing. Take responsibility by actually experiencing what energies and feelings and sensations are that the body is experiencing. And don't just sit there in suffering, embrace them, and then follow it all the way back to the source of why it came in and engaged in a conflict with you. And then source to source, you say, hey friend, is it okay with you if we end this? Whatever it was in the past, it was, but right now, I love you, you love me, and we're both doing interesting things that aren't really connected to each other right now, so have a nice life. I love you, brother, sister, mother, father, kids. Have a nice life. Okay. So I don't know quite what that story was about, but probably liked it. It has a lot of reality in what it is that creates the experience of you that manifests in a stable way, but the whole thing is manufactured. It's a high-level video game where even your sense of self is lost in the role of the character you're playing. So congratulations, you're the best actress ever because you're so into it that you became it. And so everything you did was perfectly that. It couldn't have been more of what it was than what it was, and so it's a perfect creation. And in that, and that acknowledgement that it exists that way because that's what you did. That's how you looked, that's how you sounded, that's what you did, and that's what you didn't do, and everything that came together, that was the result. And it's okay, because the result was perfectly appropriate for the state of consciousness that you were doing all that in. And that's what this all comes down to. That's why I keep kind of trying to gently remind you to give yourself, you don't have to give yourself as much stillness as you give to your movements. That'd be nuts because you give your movements half your day. But so just give this 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but with 100% presence and not trying to disappear, but in being hyper aware and present in everything that you can feel. Whatever sensations there are in your body, you're 100% there experiencing them. And so since you're taking responsibility for them, you own them. And so they're yours to do with what you wish. Now, a highly self-aware goddess would give them whatever that consciousness was, the embrace of embraces, the love of the ages, the divine presence of a holiness so amazing that, the other one was really a winner in the transaction. Because essentially no, I'm completely wrong. You got out of that everything that you wanted, and there was zero sacrifice to you in doing that, because everyone and everything is your brother or sister, and you experience the consciousness that they really are, in a state of a joyful celebration of consciousness, you and they together. And now you're here, and now they're here. I'm here, you're here. Regardless of what we do in unconsciousness, it doesn't matter. We were unconscious. Okay? So there's nothing that needs to be forgiven, either by you or by them. Okay? And yet, by nothing needs to be forgiven, what I mean is that they don't have to forgive you for you to forgive them. Because forgiveness is the freeing of oneself from a bad experience. You know, if you keep your victimization up there as your thing that you carry because somebody did something to you and now your life is over and ruined, please, come on. Even if they truly hated you and would be delighted in your suffering and misery, don't agree with them. They're wrong. And when you realize what a beautiful being that they truly are, you know, you accept their offering of being your enemy so enthusiastically that you lost your perspective. And you went and played in the mud. And almost drowned. So, do we dissolve the pain and suffering, or do we give up and dissolve ourselves? You know, can a consciousness be so dissatisfied with life, with the suffering just being, life isn't worth it, and even though it's going to hurt everybody that I've ever met, you know, I think it's over for me tonight. You know, you wouldn't do that if you're actually taking responsibility for yourself. And what is wrong is not, what's causing our suffering is not taking responsibility for ourselves. We're not treating ourselves well, even though to other people it looks like we are. We're not treating ourselves well because who we're experiencing ourselves to be is a complete lie. And we're lying to ourselves. And so we condemn ourselves. We lie and we condemn. We lie and we condemn. And pretty soon, all we know is that we're suffering all the time. Okay. And David's a jerk. Most people think that, you know. And they're right, of course. Of course I'm a jerk. I'm human. And I don't deserve anybody, and nobody deserves anybody because we're all jerks. And yet, you know, sometimes it works out, but why would anyone take the chance? I don't know. Because I was watching statistics, and male-female marriage, 57% chance of divorce, with another 25 to 30% of they don't like each other, or they certainly don't love each other. They're staying together for the kids or for the money or for the friends and families and stuff, but the joy is gone. And so basically a good marriage, you know, got a 20% chance. A great marriage, a 5 or 10% chance. and a marriage that a marriage of a where the other person is truly a holy person, complete in their wisdom, on their purpose line, all that stuff. Well, I don't know if anybody like that ever got married if they were single. People get married, it seems like, when they're a little bit broken, and when they're not broken and they're on purpose and they're in the flow. Because what does the flow mean? Where are you going to be tomorrow? I don't know. I don't even know who I'll be tomorrow. That's being in the flow. If you say, okay, I'm going to set this body up so that the universe can flow with it and through it in any way that's necessary for me to be the most useful way that I can be for the ongoing betterment of humanity, so that people like it here. And say, I love my life. I love my life. I love my life. Now that's such a foreign thing for me to say. I didn't want to come out very easy. Because I wanted to make sure I wasn't lying about it, because if I was feeling that, then I wouldn't be trying to figure out how to be that by talking about it with you and recording it and, proving that, there's a lot of mysteries that seemingly don't have solutions yet. Because if just one of them had a universal solution, then the universe would have been solved. And by that I mean everyone that wanted their life to be better in such a way that the foundational purpose of that was that they wanted other people's lives to be better too, and got more pleasure from creating beautiful experiences for other people than for yourself, because you evolved to the point where you knew that creating that for the other is the only purpose worth living. Sharing an experience of each of you being the best that you could possibly be in that moment. And then each second afterwards, when you're on that frequency of transformation, all you're doing is letting it happen. That blessing has been surrounding every body that's ever been born here. And not just surrounding them, truly surrounding them. Every cell, every fiber, every molecule, and every atom is suspended in the consciousness of the universal creator. The people who've had those near-death experiences and such, there is something to connect with. And whoever disagrees with that doesn't matter. Because we're just sharing with each other, so that next step on the metaphorical stairway to heaven, we're looking at that. We're supporting each other and encouraging each other, saying, yeah, I think you're ready. Jump in and take responsibility from there as that. So we'll let go some more. So a couple of moments of silence, and so that you can feel what's going on within your body. and just letting it happen. It'll quickly self-correct as soon as you give it complete freedom. Does that make sense? It'll go from oppositional really, really quickly to collaborative decision that the divine is here and is you and them and everyone else now. So the divine awakening. You need divine awakening dance partners, okay? Because we're here to support each other in that. Because, again, maybe we're the last two people to wake up in the universe. It's probably true. We're the only ones that said no this long, and everyone else and everything in the universe is still pretending this weird reality because there's still two more people who haven't woken up yet, and it's you and me. And it's embarrassing, but should we really keep quadrillions of people waiting so that there's no one left that's not in absolute blissful, loving celebration that everything is whole and complete now? And it's a day of rest and celebration. Yeah. You feel that? Yeah. Relax into that. Yeah. Allow that to embrace you. And you can be like in a bubble bath, just luxuriating in yeah, why not that ooh, yeah. All that pain and all that suffering, let's just let it go with it. Oh, that ouch, that kind of goes from ooh, ooh, kind of like that. Yeah, like that. Just let it happen. You don't have to make it happen. That opportunity is surrounding anything that can perceive anything else. So the day of awakening. Yeah, why not? Because I'd be faced with real eternal suffering after that from as punishment for my many sins. Well, you gotta consider the possibility of that, of course. It might be real, might be true, might be what's in store for me, and despite how much I hate it here, I can imagine it being worse. So I'll stay here in my pain and suffering and misery so I don't go to a place that might be even worse. Except it isn't. This is the worst. What you can do here is anything. If you want to be a horrific destruction of human reality, bodies, consciousness, if you want to be the destroyer of the universe says, keep in touch, let us know how you're doing. Unless part of it is similarly damaged to that same level of consciousness that the person that would contemplate destroying the universe, somebody on the opposite of that polarity that thinks that their job is to save the universe and to save consciousness, well, they get to have a game of good and evil. And it's a beautiful story, and somebody wins. And there can't be a fight over consciousness where anybody wins, because anybody that would argue about it truly and try and prove a point to somebody that would never receive it, you're both lost. You don't need to argue about consciousness when there's so many people who truly just want to share with you an experience where you're at your best, that you're most open, that you're most free, of your most inspirational, what it is that you do that inspires other people to choose better for themselves. Hey, Lily, come on. We've been waiting for you. What can we do for you so that, we can spend more time with you, because we enjoy you so much, anything that you need done that is a way that I can experience more time with you, I'll do it, because there's something that's inspiring me to say, there's something here that's holy and beautiful. And what is it exactly? And why does it feel like home to me? Why does it feel like home? Where is that? Adele, okay, so there's the opening. So there's an opening into truth, and we're afraid that we'll be obligated to do something that we don't want to do after that. And so we say no to the infinite and eternal because we're afraid that something infinite and eternal is going to happen to us that we don't like. And it'll be too late. So we'd rather be an ant than a human. We'd rather be a human than, oh my God, it can't even be described. You can't even point a finger in the direction except to say, oh, wow, how people that experience this and have to go back to normal life afterwards, how they don't all kill themselves instantly, I don't know. So a doorway, a pathway, a beginning of where is there somewhere I can go where if I just go there, there's such an amount of divinely self-aware and realized people that if I go there, it's impossible not to awaken there instantly, because it's real and true for so many individual yet shared levels of consciousness that yes, the reality is different there. So how far do I have to open to where the reality in my house shifts? Hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we sure like to control each other. It's the ugliest thing about us. But it's accepting the wrong level of consciousness is what causes the problem. You can't create a different life without beginning with a different presence, a different beingness. The opening happens first and then the manifestation follows it up. Or whatever that time period is, it doesn't matter. But the goal is the opening. And by goal, I mean open. If you open and stay in the opening, then you'll experience yourself in a free state, a free-flowing state. And if you experience yourself in a free-flowing state long enough, the clarity of your life and what's real and what's important, gets a lot clearer. Of course, you end up knowing that all you had to do was pay attention in kindergarten about what the rules of behavior are, and you pretty well had a lock on it, except they don't teach you how to behave when somebody attacks you. So there has to be potential for battle. If there's no other way, you can't run away, or you can't let your family die if you could run away. So at some point, there's spiritual justification for fighting to the death. But I don't know why I even got into that subject, because why would I want to be stuck at that level of consciousness where I talk about nutty stuff like that? So that's so the reason why I do for myself is it points out to me what a ridiculous level of consciousness I'm being. And then I can sit in that and be still until that identity gives up. If you fight with the identity, you're stuck. All you have to do is stop everything and be still. Until everything else gives up. It's like a staring contest. Sometime during your day or your week, truly give yourself, a gift. Give yourself 4 or 5 hours where your only purpose is to be still and to stay still, and then to observe how your stillness becomes a transformational blessing to your own body and a guiding light to anyone that's looking for one. So if you're willing for me to have an experience of awakening, then from you would be something, an invitation by your presence and your level of consciousness for me to take it up to meet you where you're at. And to allow that simple state of noticing that I was at a level of consciousness that wasn't one that I would choose to be consciously, and that I'm also familiar with some really capable states of consciousness that I've been at different times in my life, and with somebody else's help that is a genuine, already there, and so is just there saying, yeah, come on in, it's great, do it, say yes. And who's present at that level of consciousness that you're looking to step up to. and let it. The person doesn't have to be right. They don't have to be true. They don't have to be a guru. All they have to do is be somebody else, another body, where in that interaction with you, there's a shared experience of a transformational shift, a quantum leap, a harmonic realization of whatever it is that truth is. It sets an embodied consciousness free. So what is it? I asked the question, the answer is right in front of our faces. Can we open our eyes and look at it? And in that looking, we feel that gift of self-awareness and freedom. What's it like to be twice as conscious and present and self-aware as you are normally? And then what's it like to double that? Now be 4 times. And in that logarithmic way, then it's 8 times and 16 times, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512. And you pop simply by letting it happen. Because it's already real, it's already true, it's already you. All you have to do is stop being something else. That's why you be still. Stop being something else so that your truth can reveal itself to you. How's that sound? I like that, If anybody ever listens to this session, I think they'll like it too. So what I'd like you to do, because I'm talking about things and you're listening, and we're not giving a lot of time to allow it, a silent allowance focused on letting it happen. So we're in the let it happen place. Is that okay with you? Well, my heart's getting light now. Yeah, it's fine. My heart's finally opening up. Hmm. Okay, what are we letting happen? We're allowing ourselves to notice. We're allowing ourselves to be present in our body, not running away from it. And in that presence, there's an awakening that happens for us, because that's the intention of it. We damned ourselves, now we're redeeming ourselves. Now we're not doing that because, we're not Christians or Muslims or Hindus or anything else. We're doing whatever it is that we think is going to do the job for us. And if there were somebody else whose very presence would shatter our limitations and reveal our lost truth to ourselves, then, heaven knows I would open my door to that. But short of that, we figure it out ourselves, and that's what this is. And the next step of this is allow for your awakening, not as a process, but instantaneously right now. Take your medicine, all this pain and suffering, take it divinely. Just wake up. And as a divine presence, it'll solve virtually everything that's in conflict within the experience of your own body. It can't be otherwise. So allow yourself to find your truth. Yeah. Because when you find your truth, the lies can no longer disable you. Because truth experienced, not read about, but experienced. Truth experienced is what replaces the stories you were given as a child. Your species, everything it taught you about life. Your awakened experience of that replaces every other point of view with the universal one, where you feel the essence and presence of the universe as you participate in it. You stay universally open, and you're doing it right now. Just feel the difference when you just experience it instead of struggling for it. And you just let it happen. When there's nothing for you to do, you can't fail. You can't mess up. The hero's journey is always successful when the hero surrenders himself to the truth that sets it free, its own infinite and eternal nature. So there's nothing to do. You're here. Be awakened and solve your life from there. You don't have to struggle to be awakened. It's just taking responsibility. Biting your lip and saying, okay, I'm all in. I'm here to take responsibility for this body, for this mind, for this consciousness. And the kids, it's sad. friends that it's made. And I'm taking responsibility for myself so I can not be a burden to others. Choose to do something well enough that you can be abundant in life without having to struggle because you're good at what you do and people value it. It's okay to have that be a requirement and to be real and to be true of you. It's just how much more present are you going to be? How much of a transformational shift are you wanting to experience? Do you just want to be numbed out and not feel pain anymore? I don't think so. I think you want to be vibrantly alive and enthusiastic about what a gift it is for every one of us to come here and be human. You know, what can we do now that's truly worthy, that's something that humanity has never accomplished before? What can we do? What can we do to have heaven on earth for ourselves, right here, right now? It's, I suspect, just something that you surrender to, you know. Notice that. It is. That's it. Do you surrender to that, or is a life of conflict your preference? You know, this life of conflict is all we've ever known as a human. And you're here again, so it means that you've been choosing this for yourself, to put your consciousness into a human identity and live life. And for what? You know, if you're divinely conscious, self-aware, eternity is you, the universe, an existence, you. So just notice that everywhere your arms and legs can reach outside your body is now divinely self-aware and conscious as you. It's already that. And so you're holding yourself in the divine flow already, right here, right now. And as you notice that and you allow that flow to deepen and move within the systems of your body, you know, so the blood flows divinely, the nerve signals travel divinely, you know, the consciousness finally experiences its freedom while embodied. Well, Wow, that helped. Shall I wrap this up or shall I keep talking? Okay, I'll say a little bit more even though I'm completely out of ideas. Let's see. The lilies of the field, they work and toil not. Do you think you're named that way? And something about gilding a lily. It's not necessary. You just let it happen. It's the most beautiful thing ever. But the lily has to wait too. You can't force its bud open, when it hasn't finished accumulating enough cells and size for it to be a beautiful bloom. No, everything in its time. But allow that divine bloom to be the movement that you're flowing as. Each start from the seed until the resulting beautiful experience of that life fades back into the background until it's part of the dust and utilized as nutrition for something new and beautiful. So, what do I need to do to shift? To not just say beautiful things, but to actually experience them long enough for my conscious, my subconscious, and my identity and my personality to shift and say, oh, this is what's normal and natural for me. So that's an easy way to open to it. All these blockages and things that you feel in your body, say, yeah, this is normal. This is how the divine awakens in a body like this. It shines a light on everything that's asking for help. So that everyone can clearly see that the divine is here for us if we have eyes to open and look and see that if they look for divine consciousness within anything else, and they're actually open and expecting to see it, then they do. And when you see the divine in another, then they truly are your brother and your sister. Because that level of perception shifts their reality so much that it makes it very easy for them to say, somebody's home. I wonder if I should go home too. Is it time for us all to go home? Well, it might be. I'll have to check. Give whatever mechanisms that you have within the construct of your consciousness, your mind, your cellular memory, everything that's connected to you in your subtle bodies and throughout the memories and vibrations and frequencies and promises and oaths and condemnations throughout every lifetime that you've ever lived. So it's okay if it's, you didn't do it until now. Okay, admit it, me neither. But right now, yeah, let's do it. Let's metaphorically hold hands across the ocean and say, thanks for noticing. Thanks for opening. And thanks for your willingness to be free. Now be still and watch the freedom work its way through the constructs of your body and your mind. So we'll take a few minutes and do that. Just lay there and notice. Now, you don't do anything with them once you notice them. You keep sort of letting go, backing up, so that it's free. You're not constraining its growth ever. You're there in their awakening. Then you take a step back and say, you're on your own here. So take full responsibility for yourself. It's your responsibility. Now that you're partially awakened, the journey's an inner one, and be still and know that you are God. And that's about it. Hmm. Hmm. Well, I think I fell asleep for a minute. You sleeping too? No. Okay. So let's let's um, let's notice one last time, please, that there's a divine self-awareness everywhere that you can feel around the outside of your body. The truth of you is divinely free, and you're held in the hands of your own consciousness, carried around like a little baby by your divine nature. But it's up to the identified self to notice that and to relax into it. Because you're always there, always being held, always being loved. But in the midst of your deepest, darkest, painful experience, when you experience that, you look with an eagerness to notice God in the midst of that. And when you do, there's no more sentence, there's no more judgment. There's only freedom. That's so much nicer. Wow. Hmm. Well, that's twice I've fallen asleep. I think I'm done. Got any last word? Nothing? Okay. So much better. Okay? So notice that energy around your body. Notice how everything that's in flow with you is in support of that. You only have one job, and that's to do nothing. And by doing nothing, let it happen. Okay. Good night. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your presence. And thank you for your willingness to both awaken and be free, and for others to do the same thing. You're not trying to be better than them. You're doing it for yourself, And if you find somebody there, great. If somebody joins you in this beautiful journey, that's great too. The willingness to be authentic and true, not by somebody else's opinion, but by your internal experience. So that's it. Thank you, Lily. I'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, I don't know if there's let's see. What I'm not sure of is what is it exactly that creates the permanent change? You know, the full opening, the full awakening, and okay, here I am in my wholeness. Okay, here I am. Here I am. Hmm. Yeah, locating yourself, seems to be a good thing for the body. Here I am. Hmm. Here I am. Hmm. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this progresses. I'm glad I did it tonight. It had a benefit for me, and I'm able, with just simply checking, to feel my presence. Filling the room I'm in, and not my personality and ego, but something that's sublime. And as I focus on that, feeling whatever there is sublime about me, something that I not can just identify with and as, but actually seems to be exactly whatever it is me. So I'm not making a mistake when I do it. I'm just opening to the truth. So I'm gonna do my process on camera, even if there's a lot of dead space. Again, I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to open and experience what that is. And so now that I'm at the point of the session where I can open and experience whatever it is, then I'm going to do that and not talk about it until there's something worth saying. So the stillness and silence begins. So awakening should be a beautiful and natural thing, like that lily that's blooming on my table, which I don't know if I'm required to show this to you or not, but it seems like it'd be rude if I didn't. There. Okay. So as all these feelings and blockages come up, instead of engaging with it, I embrace it without engaging. And in the embrace, I notice God there. And it resolves itself, and I'm able to let go in that surrender. Hmm. 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 So as you learn how to be gentle in your experience of your traumas, then you're able to be present and connected with them continuously. And when you get to that point, then it's like pulling the plug on the drain or the swamp, and the swamp empties itself. So don't get caught up in doing it, just in letting it happen, letting it be done to you. Allow the universe to divinely awaken you. Let the universe do it to you. The best of the best. Everything being its best. Everything being awakened and being a blessing to you. Hmm. Now it seems like it might be greedy to ask that, but you can't ask that without actually being willing to experience that. And the willingness of somebody to experience that is the full payment for the person that embodied the perfection that you're looking for. The observed and the observer. Doesn't matter which one you are, just either observe the divine or be the one that's awakened divinely that somebody else can observe. Why not play that game? And you do it by what? Being still, doing nothing yourself, no conscious pushing or pulling or manipulating, or really even having a purpose. No purpose beyond being fully present. Focused on living a sublime, productive, celebratory life worth living. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. I think we're going to say we're done. Okay. So, if you watched all of this, thank you. And um, but all the stuff about commerce and business and signing their stuff, I don't care. My preference for you is that you not make this a pathway. You just take responsibility and come into your body with a more profound experience of your eternal nature and truth. And that you just choose to stay present of that. And as that, then, like I said before, you fix the mess of your life. You're suffering more acutely, possibly, with the results of your previous life, but that's the point. If you're going to transform and transcend, then you come here and take responsibility. It's your fault. You did it to yourself, and now you're here as this. However, since you took full responsibility for it, then it's no longer trapping of you. So see that trap open up and fall away. How's that feel? When the past no longer has a hold of you. Hmm. Hmm. Well, how about that? I still haven't this, it seems. Well, I wonder. Well, it appears that it has ended, and I'm talking to myself. So, it looks sad and tired.